It's LIFEFORCE, licensed by Nintendo of America. Well, you think they would have spelled that correctly. Perhaps they meant Nintendo of America. And we couldn't have the first Nintendo week here on Classic Game Room without a review of LIFEFORCE. This is one of those games that everybody seems to remember for the NES. Maybe it's not quite as popular or well known today as Super Mario Bros., but look, Super Mario Bros. Does not have spaceships or end bosses that have eyeballs that come out of their sockets and attack you. LIFEFORCE does. What we have here is a mixture of Gradius and the movie Inner Space. Unclogging arteries and fighting evil blood cells one level at a time, this game was originally released in Japan in 1986 and called Salamander. They brought it over here, they made some changes to it, I guess. We'll have to play Salamander and find out, which conveniently happens to be available for the Sega Saturn, and Classic Game Room has a copy of that we'll be getting to in a future review. LIFEFORCE has above average music and gameplay for the NES. This is a fantastic game. And I love the giant brain with arms. Let's just watch this guy. All he wants is a hug, but instead we're going to give him an eyeball full of laser beams. For a brain, he's not very smart. LIFEFORCE is a unique game in a similar vein to Vanguard and Thunder Force 2. It has both horizontally scrolling and vertical scrolling spaceship shooting levels. Lots of power-ups. It's very similar to Gradius. I think this is actually considered a spin-off to Gradius. Konami also made Gradius for the NES, and Classic Game Room has a copy of that we'll be getting to in the future as well. We have the familiar power-ups here. And the option, you can collect up to 2 options, which are the blue things following my spaceship around, that obviously add increased power to your weapons and are essential to survival in LIFEFORCE. I call this the Pinball machine level, which isn't terribly difficult. In fact, the first 2 levels of this game are pretty easy. And when you're watching the review, notice where I pick up some hidden 1-ups. You can collect a number of those and save them for later levels, where the game becomes much more challenging. LIFEFORCE suffers from a great deal of slowdown when there's a lot of things going on at the same time. And you can actually use this to your advantage when you're fighting end bosses, especially when you have all of your weapons powered up. You just fire away and slow the entire screen down. This level is the bane of my existence, and even when I was a kid and had more time to play this. I remember vividly how much I detested those damn fire flame things that shoot out of the surface. And sure enough, I still detest them. It took me a while to remember how to play this level. You gotta hang back and keep a close eye on those stupid flame things, because even if you have shields powered up and they hit you, you'll be destroyed. It's very inconsiderate of them not to be exploded by your laser beams either. You see a blue power-up appear on screen, that's a destroy all enemies on screen power-up. LIFEFORCE is tremendously fun, and it's a bit slow compared to many modern shooters out there today. You collect speed power-ups and also 2 missile power-ups and up to 2 laser power-ups and 1 wave beam power-up in the game. But still, the screen seems to move at a much slower rate than normal. At first, it may seem very simple until you get to this level, and it really starts testing you. The remainder of the game after this is surprisingly challenging and extremely fun. If you've been playing games on the NES since it was new, odds are you already have LifeForce. If you're a younger gamer and you're looking to collect games and you want some shooters, start with this one, or Gradius. They're excellent games. And LifeForce won't cost you more than just a few dollars today. The game gives you a number of continues if you die, and you can use those to practice some of the later levels if you get destroyed on them. I find the end bosses aren't terribly difficult as long as you have your weapons powered up. The biggest problem I have in this game is when I do get destroyed, I then lose all of my speed power-ups. And that always throws me off completely. Another thing, once you get destroyed, your options, your blue things, will actually stay on the screen and you can collect them. And that thing finally got me. I just lost my ship, and you can see that I still hung on to one of my options, but my ship has slowed down dramatically. On the bottom left-hand part of the screen there, you can see where it says 1P07. That means I have 7 ships remaining. You can see my score, and the blue bar relates to the power-ups. You start by collecting 1 power-up, gives you speed. When you collect 2, then it moves up to missiles, wave beams, laser, option, and shields. I haven't played this level in a while, so my game gets pretty rusty from here on. But I remember this guy from when I was a kid. I always liked him. The eyeballs that come flying out at you. That's a cool end boss. That's the kind of end boss you want to hang out with. You get to level 5 here, and no longer are the string of enemies that come at you and give you power-ups defenseless. They're shooting at you, which makes things much more difficult. Notice on the missiles, by the way, when you shoot them, they actually glide along the ground. LifeForce uses the 2 buttons on the NES controller. One of them shoots, and the other one uses your power-up. So when you collect 1 power-up, you can use it and collect your speed. You can wait till you have 2 power-ups, then use it and collect your missiles. 4, get your lasers, and so forth. The game seems pretty simple for the most part. There's not much parallax scrolling in the background. It's nice having both the horizontal and vertical scrolling levels. I think the variety of enemies is very interesting, and it gets much harder later in the game, and that's where it really challenges your skill. LifeForce is one of those games you can spend a bit of time with, beat the game, tell all your friends about it, and get them hooked on LifeForce because it's just tremendous. LifeForce is a lot of fun, and I have fond memories of this game from 20 years ago. And when I picked it up and started playing it again, it was as good as I remembered it. Not every game is as fortunate, but LifeForce stands the test of time and remains an excellent shooter today. And I'm looking forward to playing Salamander on the Sega Saturn and seeing what the real differences between the 2 games are. Should be interesting.